tend to trigger H2K players with my presence and my smile.
Perks actually could be in trouble here. Moving in, that's the chain. CC Perks with the flash out. Nice combo. Ooh.
That was smooth. Really nice plays there from Perks.
Yeah, for sure. I would say there's like a friendly rivalry between me and Perks. He's the guy I talk the most with, actually, besides my own team. It feels like we really have the same life goals. It seems like we're, you know, made for each other.
Here comes the Cho'Gath, the knock up the chain CC. The silence is going to come in next. Does manage to get the barrier off, but no chance to flash. Perks is burning down. Bye-bye.
He's actually a close friend of mine. Playing against Sabian is going to be quite interesting because he plays the same champs as me, like almost as well as I do. I think he's like one of the best winners for sure.
I keep telling myself I'm better than him. He keeps telling himself he's better than me. So, you know, it all comes down to the match, you know, and see who carries his team harder.
G2 is known to prevail in best of series. I only lost one best of series in my life.
It's gonna be really close. Like, they're really good, we're really good, so
I'm gonna do this sorry for him when I take his playoffs.
Every pro player kind of wants to feel like they can leave a legacy behind. For me, making a team win 4 splits in a row, I'm really looking forward towards that record because that's a legacy I can leave behind.
And welcome to the final day of the EU LCS Summer Semi-Finals. The reigning champions G2 are fighting to take their 4th title in a row. But in their way are an H2K squad looking to prove that they are indeed the best in Europe. Hello everyone, I'm EpicSkillshot supporter following the series alongside Andrew, Various Day, and Misfits Gaming Maxfloor. And we just heard Mithy talking about building a legacy and leaving a legacy. And you guys have started to build your own legacy. Congratulations, you find yourself in the finals. You've slept on it for a night now. How do you feel?
You know, today I felt happier than I did yesterday. I don't know why.
You seemed a bit in shock, to be honest.
Yeah,
after.
I was actually really shocked yesterday. I was like, well, we won. I don't know how to take this. So now I'm actually just feeling it. I'm like, I told my teammates this morning, oh my God, we won. You know, like this. But yeah, it feels great.
It finally sunk in. Well, let's take a look at some of the plays from yesterday because Misfits Gaming indeed are surging as a dark horse, really, in the race for the title. An impressive win versus Fnatic, a spot in the finals. Various, what did they do so well? Did they really give Fnatic a chance?
Not really. They had early game dominance in pretty much all of their games, except for the game 3 where things didn't quite go out the way with which they planned. However, aside from that, the team just looked consistently dominant throughout the series, and it felt like to me that on the day, Misfits were the better team.
That looked like it. Maxor, when I was speaking to you after the match, you said, oh, I'm a bit disappointed in my own performance. I don't think I performed the best as I could have, but who do you think on your team, or who would you give credit for really stepping up yesterday and throughout the playoffs?
Well, for me, it's got to be like everyone's stepping up for sure, but I'm working mostly with Power of Evil, so I can see his growth and improvement, and because we are mid-jungle and we're working together so well, he's just playing so well, and because we're both playing really good, we just beat Fnatic.
All right, a great mid-jungle synergy and everything was on point. And with that playoff bracket almost complete, there's still 1 spot in the final fight on the line. Misfits will find themselves in front of a roaring crowd in Paris and go up either against G2 or H2K. Now, in terms of Worlds, Fnatic are now in the gauntlet for sure. You guys made sure of that, adding insult to injury a little bit for them. And then if G2 manages to win today, that means that you guys find yourselves at Worlds no matter what. So I guess you're cheering for them.
Go on, G2!
Yeah, that would be good.
Biggest G2 fan today.
And G2 find themselves at Worlds no matter what happens today, and H2K have to win the split if they want to go directly. So a lot of interesting implications, but Maxfloor is vying for G2, I presume. Now, if we focus in on the semi-final today, last week, Splyce pushed the reigning champions G2 to their limit, and today H2K could deal a fatal blow. It's been a rough split for G2. They finished in 2nd place in their group. They had a tough fight in the quarterfinals, and they won versus Splyce, but I wouldn't say it was that impressive overall. It was just in the key moments, some of those players like Perks, like Mithy, Maxor, they rose above and beyond to carry the team.
Yeah, like, honestly, some of these games I just thought it was over for G2, but especially this last game with the Casio flanks and Mithy just being on drugs or something, just completely zoning this Orianna. Like, it was just insane. I couldn't believe it.
I put that in a different way,
The
but...
clutch performances from some of the individuals of G2 just goes to show the experience of the players as well. You have to remember how many times they've been in this high-pressure sort of situation and how much they needed to step up. And I felt like that level of experience, that experience difference between them and Splice is what really allowed them to have that slight edge when push comes to shove.
Yeah, we see it here. This was the named play by Perks, and then the Mithy play on Senkux in the final fight was also so important. And you say about thriving under pressure. If we take a look at H2K, they've had a very consistent split, but they also consistently struggled against the top teams. In Vedius, we have their win rates here, and it is dire when it comes to G2, 2 Fnatic, and 2 Unicorns of Love versus H2K.
You can see that as a team, H2K are very good at being able to deal with everyone that is below them, but every time they look to try and challenge some of the top teams, it feels like that the pressure just gets to them. They can't seem to perform at the level with which they have of their own expectations. Every time analysts always favor them to win, and then they never perform.
But the playoffs so far, this we can throw out of the window. Misfits had a really bad record versus top teams, but they find themselves in the final. Unicorns of Love are out, Fnatic are out, and you guys are a team that have been able to rise above. What do you think it's going to take for H2K to this time do it and this time live up to the high expectation that is on their shoulders?
Well, firstly, they have to sort out their mental, because if they're always losing to the top teams consistently, then I don't think it's because of macro at that point. I think it's because they lack the confidence going into them, or they have doubts, or maybe they just don't believe in their teammates as much as they do against like noob teams. So today it's mainly about who's going, like I think the first game will kind of decide who will win, because it will give like a mental edge to that team. However, I can also see if a team is 2-0 up, or for example H2K, and they lose the next game, it could just be a reverse sweep.
So super interesting to see how they adjust throughout the series. And if we think of key matchups and emotionality, I always think of Jankos, obviously, and Vedius in the jungle. You did want to talk about kind of the clash of styles. Well, this is the mid lane, but they will also be helping the mid lane out between Trick and Jankos to also facilitate Perks and Febivin.
It's really important to think about this mid-jungle synergy between these two teams, because they've been talked about so much. And when you compare the two junglers initially, you look at Trick, who's very much a babysitter for his lanes. He makes sure that they're having a happy laning phase, he makes sure that there's plenty of vision control, and he makes sure that they can go back whenever they so please. Whereas Jankos, he seems to be a lot more in your face. He's very much about trying to snowball those early leads, and that then facilitates the different styles of mid laners that you have. Whereas Perks, he wants to play as aggressively as he possibly can, and having that babysit jungle style allows him to do that. Whereas for Febivin, he's a little bit more controlled. He knows how to very slowly and calmly utilize that lead that his jungler is able to build for him, and so it's interesting to see how these two jungles and mids will be able to clash again.
It is. Maxlor, as a lord of the mid-jungle synergy, as you have shown, what do you think about this and this match specifically, and about Jankos and Trick respectively?
Well, I do believe that Jankos' style is more, let's say, risky, and he punishes the enemy jungler a lot more than Trick would. However, in my opinion, this Trick style with Perks, as long as Perks has a really good laning phase, it's going to work today.
Well, that's what it's going to come down to, and that's what we also saw in the opening video. They have similar paths, they are good friends, and they are enemies on the Rift, but it's going to come down to how they do. So what are your predictions, gentlemen?
I feel like that I'm going to put my faith in H2K. Multiple times throughout this season, we've always had doubts in them, but today I will say 3-1 to H2K.
3-1 H2K.
I think 3-2 to G2.
You have to root for G2 if you want your
course.
World's hopes, obviously. Well, can Febivin and H2K do what nobody has done in the last 3 splits and destroy G2's European kingdom in the semifinals? Let's leave it to our casters for Game 1.
Thank you, Shocks. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Daniel Dracos, joined by Martin DeFischer-Lunga to bring you this semifinal best of 5 between H2K and G2. I know you're excited. Just let it out, Martin. Just
I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I said this on Twitter as well. I'm like, this is like one of those semifinals you just kind of dream of almost, and you just wait the entire split for a game like this one. Best of 5. Who makes the final to face Misfits? And obviously a team like G2 who wants to get the 4th title, and H2K who wants to make that final for the first time in their history.
And H2K coming in on the blue side, looking to fight for that spot in the final. Their roster, of course, looking at the top lane. It's going to be Ottawamne, jungle, Jankos, mid lane, Febivin, AD carry Nuclear, and support Che.
#1 team from Group B here in the EU LCS. We saw the records just before, consistently beating almost every single team in the EU LCS, except for teams like G2 and Fnatic, and we have to see if Prolly and H2K today can fix that.
As they step up against the G2 roster, you know these guys well. Top lane is Expect, Trick in the jungle, Perks in the mid lane, Sven on AD carry, and their support Mithy. And these guys, we have to say, yes, Game 5 against Splice, maybe if you're a G2 fan, you're a little bit worried. That was a bit of a struggle, but at the same time, you saw those clutch performances coming out of Mythy, coming out of Perks when it mattered most, and kind of easy way to wipe away those fears coming into the semifinal.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens when you have some of these veterans who's now been playing on the big stage multiple times. They have the experience, they're no longer nervous, they can actually perform in clutch situations, and that will be key for G2. We're still waiting for some members like Febiven and Oda Amne to do it here in the LCS playoffs for H2K, because we know how good these guys can be. Now we need to see it in this best of 5. The next 5 hours will decide who gets the final.